There are moments in life when the world makes its assumptions about you before you've even spoken. Sometimes it's subtle, a side glance, a hesitant pause, that fake polite smile. Other times it's louder, sharper, more deliberate. On Sovereign Air Flight 482, it started with a look. Dorian Hayes stepped into the first-class cabin with the quiet composure of a man who'd lived long enough to know that silence was often his greatest power. In the soft, dimmed lighting, his presence didn't shout wealth. It didn't scream royalty. It didn't demand attention. He wasn't dressed in the flamboyant luxury people expected from powerful executive. No flashy watch. No tailored power suit. Just a charcoal jacket, crisp shirt, calm eyes, and a demeanor that read like still water, peaceful until disturbed. He didn't need the world to see his worth. But the world, or rather, a few people within it, would judge him anyway. Kara Simmons spotted him the moment he entered. She was stationed at the front of first class, posture stiff, smile ready but selective. She greeted the passenger ahead of him with a sugary tone dripping with pretense. "Welcome aboard, Mr. Linton. Always an honor." She didn't know him personally. She just knew his outfit screamed money. But when Dorian reached her, she blinked. Her smile didn't come. Her enthusiasm cooled. Her eyes flicked from his boarding pass to his face, and then back again, checking twice as if the system had made a mistake. He saw it. He always saw it. Years of corporate life had taught him how to read micro-expressions the way others read weather patterns. Still, he spoke with grace. "Good evening." Kara didn't mirror the warmth. "Seat 2A is straight ahead," she said curtly, stepping aside but keeping one hand firmly on the meal cart as if guarding something fragile. Dorian nodded politely, moved on, and sat. He had no intention of letting her energy affect his peace. He'd had a long week, acquiring 2 companies, renegotiating flight safety protocols, and attending a board meeting that ran late into the night. He wanted quiet, a book, maybe a chance to rest. But tonight, peace was not what first class had planned for him. Kara wasn't alone. Her shadow arrived moments later, Mason Lee, the lead attendant. He was tall, confident, and walked with the swagger of someone who believed the aisle was his private runway. He noticed Dorian halfway through his strut. Mason's expression flickered with the same disbelief Kara had shown. The same assumption. The same bias packaged behind a customer service smile. He whispered something to Kara. She chuckled. Then both continued their work as though nothing had happened. Passengers continued boarding, the cabin slowly filling with the soft rustle of jackets, the clink of luggage wheels, the mechanical beeps of scanning devices. Yet Dorian noticed everything. The way Kara skipped offering him a pre-flight drink while offering champagne to everyone else. The way Mason avoided eye contact. The way another attendant, younger and quieter, paused when she got near his row but was quickly redirected by Kara with a whisper and a nudge. It was clear. A decision had been made about who he was, or rather, who they thought he wasn't. But Dorian didn't react. Not yet. Sometimes people mistook silence for powerlessness. They always learned differently. 32 minutes after takeoff, dinner service began. Kara approached with the cart, her smile sharpened to a pointed edge. She served the man in 2B with a polite, "Here you are, sir." The woman in 2C received a warm, "Enjoy your meal, ma'am." Then she stopped at Dorian's row. No greeting, no courtesy, just a tray pushed forward as if it weighed too much to hold. "Dinner," she said. The plastic lid gleamed in the cabin light. Dorian accepted it calmly, even though the back of his mind whispered that something was off. The moment the seal cracked, an odor exploded into the air. Sour, acidic, unmistakably rotten. Passengers jerked back. A woman covered her mouth. A man winced loudly. Someone muttered, "Oh my goodness!" The smell wasn't normal. Not expired. Not slightly past date. This was deliberate. But Kara wasn't disgusted. She was amused. "Oh," she said loudly, making sure everyone heard. "That one must be special." Dorian stared at the food. Green and white fuzz coated the meat. Dark, slimy mold spread across the edges. It looked like it had been pulled from a trash bin after a week. "This isn't edible," he said quietly. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't lash out. He just stated a fact. Kara shrugged dramatically. "Well, it's what you get." A passenger whispered, "That's wrong." Kara ignored him. She leaned closer to Dorian, her voice dripping with smugness. "Just eat around it," she said. "Or wait until we land. I'm sure airports have options more suited for you." Dorian pressed the lid shut. Calmly. Deliberately. He wasn't angry, not yet. He was disappointed. And disappointment was a far more powerful emotion. "I'd like to speak to the lead attendant," he said. Kara laughed. "Oh please. About what? Your meal not being fancy enough? Or you not fitting in with everyone else here?" Murmurs spread. A few phones subtly lifted. People sensed something was unfolding. Something wrong. Mason arrived like a storm front, loud, dismissive, ready to dominate. "What's the issue now?" he said, as though Dorian were a misbehaving child. Kara pointed at the tray. "He doesn't like his gourmet experience." Mason opened the lid. His face tightened. His stomach lurched. But he hid it quickly, snapping the lid shut. "It's fine," he announced loudly to the cabin. "He's exaggerating." Dorian met his gaze. "You're going to pretend this is safe?" Mason stepped forward, invading Dorian's space. "If you're unhappy, I can downgrade you. Middle seats have plenty of space." Gasp. "Wow," someone muttered. Kara folded her arms. "He's being dramatic," she declared loudly. "We've had people try to get refunds before." Dorian's jaw tightened. "I paid for this seat." "Sure you did," Mason replied with a smirk. The implication sliced through the cabin. More phones lifted. "You do realize," Dorian said slowly, "that serving contaminated food violates health and flight safety protocols?" Mason's eyes hardened. "Don't threaten us with protocols." Kara added quickly, "Maybe we should notify the captain. He's becoming aggressive." Dorian blinked once. "I haven't raised my voice." Mason tapped his radio dramatically. "Captain, we have a situation in first class. Passenger refusing instructions. Agitated." Gasps again. Dorian whispered, "You're lying." Mason smirked. "Sit tight." The door clicked shut behind Dorian Hayes, and the entire office felt like it exhaled for the first time in minutes. 3 executives. 1 accusation. Millions of eyes online waiting for a single misstep. Ava didn't sit. She simply turned her head slightly toward the window, watching her reflection in the glass. Calm, steady, composed. She looked like someone who had been underestimated her entire life and had learned to weaponize stillness. The supervisor swallowed. The bank president wiped sweat from the edge of his hairline. Philip Crane pretended not to be terrified, but the tremble in his jawline betrayed him. Ava spoke without raising her voice. "Before we continue, are any of you recording?" The question shattered the room like a dropped plate. "No," the president said quickly. Philip lifted his hands. No, ma'am." The supervisor shook his head, voice low. "No recording here." Ava nodded once. "Good," she said. "Because I want the truth spoken freely." She stepped forward, not aggressively, but with a soft command of the space that no one in the room could push against. "Let's begin with the simplest question possible." She turned to Philip. "Why did you assume I was here to make a complaint instead of a transaction?" Philip froze. His lips parted, then closed. Ava waited. Silence did not bother her. Silence was a tool she had mastered. Finally, Philip swallowed and forced words out. I made an assumption. Based on the interaction in the lobby." Ava's face did not move. "That wasn't my question." Philip blinked. "But why did you assume, personally? Do not hide behind your staff. Do not hide behind the incident. Why you?" His throat tightened. "I thought you were someone who needed assistance." Ava looked him dead in the eye. "You thought I was someone beneath you?" Philip said nothing. The supervisor shifted in his seat, uncomfortable. The president adjusted his tie as if oxygen had suddenly become too thin. Ava didn't flinch. "Let me make something very clear," she said. "I walked into this bank with the same posture, the same expression, and the same purpose as any customer you would have rolled a red carpet for. The difference, the only difference, is the skin I'm wearing." The words hit the room like a controlled explosion. Philip's breath shook. The supervisor looked away. The president's jaw clenched. Ava continued, voice calm but sharper now. "And instead of being treated like a human being, I was treated like a warning. Like a disturbance. Like something that does not belong." She took one more step forward. "Do you know why this moment is painful?" She didn't wait for an answer. "Because this wasn't new for me. It was practiced. Rehearsed on your staff's tongues. Familiar." The supervisor shut his eyes, absorbing the truth. "And the worst part?" Ava said softly. "None of you were surprised." The room stayed silent long enough for everyone to feel their own discomfort press against their skin. Then Ava asked, "Would you like to know who I am?" Every man in the room froze. Philip's heartbeat drummed so loudly he could hear it in his ears. The supervisor looked like he was preparing for a fall. The bank president leaned forward, hands clasped tightly together. Ava reached calmly into her bag and pulled out a thin black folder. Nothing flashy, nothing oversized. Just professional. Understated. Exactly like her. She set it on the table. Her fingers tapped the cover once. "Inside this folder," she said, "are two things. A letter and a document." She placed both hands behind her back, a gesture that somehow made her look even more in control. "The letter is signed by Dorian Hayes." Philip's face went white. The president's fingers twitched. The supervisor whispered under his breath, "Oh my God." Ava continued, "It is an official notice. One that was meant to be delivered tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. sharp. The board approved it last week." She looked at them, expression unreadable. "And until this morning, none of you knew anything about it." Philip took a step back. The president swallowed hard. "Ms. Langford, what are you saying?" Ava clicked the folder open. She didn't hand anything over yet. She didn't need to. "The document," she said, "is the controlling interest form for Hayes Capital's majority investment in this bank." Silence. Complete silence. The president's lips parted. "Majority?" The supervisor's eyes widened. "As in?" Ava nodded once. "As in ownership." Philip stumbled back into his chair, gripping the armrest as if the room had tilted. Ava's voice stayed calm, steady, surgical. "As of tomorrow, Hayes Capital becomes the primary shareholder of this institution. Meaning every major decision, every executive appointment, every policy, every manager." Her eyes locked on Philip. "And every branch." Philip felt the floor drop from under him. "And gentlemen," Ava said, "I was supposed to be introduced to you all as your new senior executive director." The supervisor gasped softly. The president closed his eyes in resignation. Philip whispered, "No, no, no, no." Ava closed the folder. Then she said the line that froze the world. "But instead of meeting me as a leader, you greeted me as a problem." Philip tried to speak. Nothing came out. He tried again. Still nothing. Ava watched him with a quiet patience. Not cruel, not mocking, just present. Finally, Philip managed to force out 3 shaking words. "I made a mistake." Ava tilted her head slightly. "A mistake," she echoed. "You humiliated a 17-year-old girl. A child. You demanded she explain her existence before she could refill her prepaid card." Philip's breathing grew shallow. "You spoke to her like she was an intruder. Like she did not belong in a space meant to serve her." Her eyes hardened. "You called security on her." Philip covered his face with both hands. Ava's voice lowered. "And when I intervened, you dismissed me without looking at me. You waved your hand as if shooing away inconvenience. You said..." She repeated his words verbatim. If you want to file a complaint, take it over there. He broke. Right there. Not a dramatic fall, not a wail, but the quiet collapse of a man who finally saw himself through another person's eyes. Ava didn't move. "Mr. Crane," she said softly, "I am going to say something, and I want you to hear it carefully." Philip lowered his hands. "You weren't trained to be racist. You were trained to assume. Trained to categorize. Trained to believe that authority looks a certain way and doesn't look another." He swallowed painfully. "And that training," Ava said, "has consequences." The supervisor's breathing shook now too. The president stared at the table, ashamed, defeated, silent. Ava turned to all three of them. "Gentlemen," she said, "I am giving you the opportunity to do something that most institutions fail at." They looked up. "Accountability." Ava placed the folder on the center of the table and slid it forward. Inside, the acquisition document, the notification letter, a signature line waiting for confirmation. She looked at the president. "Before anything else, I need your signature." He hesitated, not because he didn't want to sign, but because he understood the weight of what came next. "What happens after I sign?" he asked. Ava didn't blink. "You tell the truth." He nodded once, slowly, heavily, then pulled the document toward himself. The pen tapped against the paper. Then, he signed. A long breath escaped the room, like the last exhale of a storm. Ava closed the folder. "Thank you," she said. "Now we move forward." She turned to Philip. "Mr. Crane." He jolted slightly. Ava motioned to the chair. "Sit." He sat. "Today will not end with your termination." Shock flashed across his face. "Not because you didn't deserve it," Ava clarified, "but because firing you would teach you nothing. It would give you an exit, not growth." Philip's eyes watered. "Instead," she continued, "your future in this company will depend entirely on whether you are capable of transformation." He nodded, fast, desperate. Ava raised a hand. "I don't want desperation. I want awareness." He stilled. "You will undergo corrective leadership training. Intensive, difficult, unavoidable." Philip swallowed hard. "You will issue a formal apology to the girl from the lobby, privately, respectfully, and without excuses." His voice cracked. "Yes, yes, absolutely." "And," Ava said, "you will stand in front of every employee in this branch and explain what happened. Not to humiliate you, but to teach them." Philip nodded slowly, tears on his lashes. Ava leaned forward, her voice dropping. "And if you fail to learn, if you repeat these behaviors," her tone sharpened, "you will be removed. Permanently." Philip nodded again. "I understand," he whispered. Ava straightened. "Good. Then we can begin healing." When the office door opened again, every customer in the lobby turned. Phones lifted. Whispers started. The teenage girl stood near the corner, arms wrapped around herself. She looked terrified she might get in trouble for merely existing. Ava approached her gently. "May I walk with you?" she asked. The girl nodded slowly. Ava led her a few feet away from the crowd, speaking softly so the girl could feel safe. "What happened here today was not your fault," Ava said. "You did nothing wrong." The girl looked down, eyes glossy. "I just needed to refill my card." Ava's heart tightened. "And you deserve to be treated with respect while doing it." The girl sniffed. "Are you someone important?" Ava smiled gently. "I'm someone who believes you shouldn't have to be important to be treated like a human being." The girl exhaled shakily. Relief, validation, release. Ava placed a card in her hand. "This is my personal office number. If you ever feel unsafe, unseen, or mistreated in a space meant to serve you, you call me." The girl's eyes widened. "Really?" Ava nodded. "Yes, really." The supervisor approached next, shoulders lowered, shame written all over him. "Ms. Langford," he said quietly, "I want to apologize." "I know," Ava replied. "I should have stepped in." "Yes, you should have." He swallowed. I froze. Ava nodded once. Then unlearn the freeze. He blinked. Change doesn't begin when you speak up, she said. It begins when you decide silence is no longer an option. The supervisor nodded slowly, understanding the lesson, not just hearing it. The bank president approached last. He lowered his voice. Ms. Langford, I want you to know something. Ava turned to him. We needed you, he said. Long before this moment. Ava didn't smile, but her eyes softened. Then let's begin the work you've all avoided. Ava stepped toward the exit. The entire lobby shifted, parting instinctively, respectfully, silently. Not out of fear, out of recognition. The girl watched her. The employees watched her. Even Philip watched her with a humbled, shaken sincerity. Ava reached the door. The sunlight hit her face. She stood tall, not because she had won a battle, but because she had redefined the ground the battle stood on. A woman approached her outside, holding her phone. Ma'am, she said breathlessly, your video is everywhere. People are calling you a hero. Ava shook her head gently. No. I'm just someone who refused to shrink. The woman nodded. Still, thank you. Ava walked toward her car. Steady, confident, powerful. Not a victor. A reminder. Because some people walk into a room and absorb oppression. Ava Langford walked into a room and rewired the system. And the system would never forget her again. If this story hit your heart, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more stories they tried to silence.